My name is Madison Turner, and I'm 32 years old. 3 weeks ago, while my two sisters divided up $16 million worth of Cartier and Tiffany jewelry from our parents' estate, they tossed me a dusty locked trunk from the bedroom closet. Perfect for your minimalist lifestyle, they laughed, dripping in diamonds that should have been split 3 ways. But when I finally opened that worthless trunk, I found something that made their millions look like pocket change. Letters revealing I was never meant to be raised by the Turner family at all. The documents inside showed my real identity, proof of a $50 million payment, and evidence that the sisters who'd spent 30 years calling me the family disappointment had actually built their entire lives on money that was meant for me. What happened next at a charity gala with 500 witnesses would become the most watched revenge story in San Francisco history. Before we dive into how I went from serving wine to signing their termination papers, please take a moment to like and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy stories where underdogs finally win. Also, let me know where you're watching from and what time it is there. I love seeing how far these stories travel. Now, let me take you back to September 15th, the day of my parents' funeral, when I still believed I was a Turner. September 15th, 2024. Hillside Memorial Chapel, San Francisco. The mahogany caskets gleamed under the chandeliers as 200 guests murmured their condolences. My parents, Robert and Linda Turner, had died in a car accident in Napa Valley. Together, as they'd lived, leaving behind 3 daughters and an estate worth $20 million. I stood in my simple black dress between my sisters, feeling invisible as always. Victoria, 38, our family's self-proclaimed success story and vice president of marketing at Stellar Properties, wore a $30,000 Cartier necklace she'd borrowed from Mom's collection before the body was even cold. Sophia, 36, head of partnership relations at the same company, kept checking her phone between fake tears, probably calculating property values. "Madison, dear," Aunt Patricia whispered, "you must be devastated. Your parents always worried about you the most." Before I could respond, Victoria's manicured hand landed on my shoulder. "She'll be fine. Madison's used to managing with less. Aren't you, little sister?" The will reading happened immediately after the service. Attorney Morrison's office smelled like old leather and disappointment. The division was swift and surgical. Victoria claimed the La Jolla vacation home and mother's entire jewelry collection, ruby sets, diamond necklaces, vintage Tiffany pieces. Sophia took the Atherton mansion and father's investment portfolio. When Morrison looked at me, Victoria interrupted. "Oh, Madison gets the trunk. You know that old locked thing in Mom and Dad's bedroom they never let anyone touch. Perfect for your minimalist lifestyle," she added, her laugh cutting through the silence. "Besides, you design buildings for a living. What would you do with real wealth?" Sophia smirked. "Take the trunk, Madison. It suits you, old and forgotten." I signed the papers without argument, as I always did. You'd think being an award-winning architect would earn some respect in my family. I'd graduated summa cum laude from Berkeley, worked at 3 prestigious firms, and at 32 had my own growing practice. But to Victoria and Sophia, I was the family failure who played with blueprints while they built empires. The truth was more painful. Every family dinner became a masterclass in diminishment. Madison designed another low-income housing project, Victoria would announce to guests, voice dripping with false sympathy. "She has such a bleeding heart. We tried to get her into commercial real estate, but—" The shrug said everything. What she never mentioned was Marina Heights, the $400 million waterfront development I designed that won the International Design Excellence Award. The same project she claimed credit for bringing to market at Stellar Properties, earning her a promotion and a $2 million bonus. I had the original sketches, the emails, the contract with my name. But I'd stayed quiet, as always. "You design buildings, we sell empires. Know your place," Sophia had told me last Christmas when I'd tried to contribute to a conversation about sustainable architecture. The room had laughed. I'd smiled and refilled wine glasses, My phone had 47 messages from colleagues asking if I was okay, if I needed anything. Not one from my sisters since the funeral, except Victoria's group text. Madison, we're donating mom's clothes to charity. Unless you want some, they're probably your size now that you've gained weight. I stared at the trunk they'd dumped in my apartment lobby. Solid oak, brass corners tarnished with age, 3 separate locks. Mom had always been paranoid about it. Never touch that trunk, she'd say, her face going pale whenever anyone got close. Tonight, I was done following rules. September 17th, 11:47 p.m. I sat on my apartment floor with a locksmith's kit I'd borrowed from my contractor. The first lock clicked open easily. The second took 20 minutes. The third almost defeated me until I remembered Mom's nervous habit. She'd spin her wedding ring 3 times when anxious. 3 turns left, and it opened. Inside, the musty smell of old paper hit me first. Stacks of yellowed envelopes, legal documents in plastic sleeves, and a manila folder marked Confidential, 1992. My hands trembled as I reached for the top envelope, addressed to our daughter Madison in shaking handwriting I didn't recognize. The first line stopped my heart. You were never meant to be raised by them. Your real family is the Blackwood dynasty, and you are our only heir. I dropped the letter. Blackwood? As in Blackwood Holdings, the $8.2 billion empire that owned half of California's commercial real estate. The next document was my original birth certificate. Not Madison Turner, but Madison Eleanor Blackwood, born March 15, 1992, at Cedars-Sinai. Mother, Eleanor Blackwood. Father, James Blackwood. Both deceased in a plane crash when I was 3 months old. A notarized adoption contract from July 1992 made everything clear. Robert and Linda Turner had received $50 million to raise me, with explicit instructions to never reveal the child's true parentage and to maintain distance from the Blackwood family. The penalty for breach? Full repayment plus damages. At the bottom of the trunk, a recent letter dated September 1st, 2024, just 2 weeks ago. From Margaret Blackwood, my grandmother. I've searched for 30 years. Your adoptive parents are gone. It's time you knew the truth. Call Hartley and Associates. They have everything. My sisters had taken $16 million in jewelry. They'd missed an $8.2 billion inheritance. I spent the next 3 hours reading every document, my architect's mind cataloging facts like blueprints. Eleanor Blackwood, my biological mother, had been the sole heir to Blackwood Holdings when she died in that plane crash with my father. The newspaper clippings showed a young woman who looked exactly like me, same green eyes, same stubborn chin, same wild curls that no amount of product could tame. Margaret Blackwood, my grandmother, had built the empire from a single apartment building in 1960 to a real estate dynasty spanning the entire West Coast. The portfolio was staggering: 200 office towers, 50 shopping centers, 15 luxury hotels. Annual revenue, $2.8 billion. Net worth, $8.2 billion. But one document made my blood run cold. A private investigator's report from 2010 showing the Turners had been monitored for years. They knew. My parents knew exactly who I was, knew Margaret was searching, and had moved us 3 times to stay hidden. Each move coincided with a $5 million bonus from a shell company. We paid them to love you, one letter from Margaret read. They only took the money. The adoption contract's fine print revealed more cruelty. The Turners were required to provide adequate care, but explicitly discouraged from showing excessive affection that might create suspicious attachment. They were literally paid to keep me at arm's length, to make me feel less than, to ensure I'd never question why I felt like an outsider in my own family. Victoria and Sophia weren't named in any documents. They were the Turners' biological daughters, raised with the love and privilege bought with my birthright. Hartley and Associates' business card was taped to the final letter. Tomorrow, I'd call. Tonight, I sat surrounded by evidence that my entire life had been a transaction. and my sisters had no idea what they'd just unleashed. September 18th, 9:20 a.m. Sharp, I called Hartley and Associates. The receptionist transferred me immediately to senior partner James Hartley himself. "Miss Blackwood," he said, and hearing that name made me dizzy. "We've been waiting for your call. Your grandmother has retained us for 30 years, hoping this day would come." The plan was precise. First, DNA confirmation at Gene Trust Labs. Margaret had already provided her sample. Second, a meeting with Margaret herself. Third, legal transfer of inheritance rights. But everything hinged on that DNA test. September 19th, I sat in Gene Trust's sterile waiting room, watching the technicians seal my samples. "Rush priority," she noted. "Results in 48 hours." Those 2 days crawled by. I went to work, designed a community center, smiled when colleagues asked about the funeral. Victoria sent a group text. "Madison, we're having the estate sale Thursday. Don't bother coming. Nothing in your price range anyway." September 21st, 6:43 p.m. The email arrived. 99.97% match. I was Margaret Blackwood's biological granddaughter. September 22nd, Margaret flew in from New York. I met her at the St. Regis penthouse. She was 78, sharp as crystal, with my same green eyes. When she saw me, she started crying, the kind of tears that come from 30 years of searching. "My darling girl," she whispered, pulling me into the first genuine hug I'd had in decades. "I've waited so long to bring you home." Over tea, she revealed the final piece. Blackwood Holdings owned 67% of Stellar Properties. My sisters' entire careers, their pride and identity, existed at the pleasure of a company I was about to inherit. "The October 5th charity gala," Margaret said, studying my face. "Your sisters are organizing it. 500 guests, including every major developer in California. Shall we make it memorable?" September 28th, Victoria called. First contact since the funeral, and only because she needed something. "Madison, perfect timing. The Stellar Properties Charity Gala is next Saturday, the 5th. We need extra hands for service. You'll help with coat check and wine service, won't you? It's at the Ritz-Carlton, black tie. But you'll be in uniform, so don't worry about buying anything fancy." I could hear Sophia laughing in the background. "Tell her she's serving the VIP section, all our important clients." "Oh, and Madison?" Victoria's voice turned syrupy. "We're suggesting a $50,000 donation from all family members. I know that's challenging for you, but maybe you could manage $500. We'll still list you as a Turner family contributor." I looked at the legal documents spread across my table. The transfer papers Margaret's lawyers had prepared, the DNA results, the truth about everything. "I'll be there," I said quietly. "Wonderful. Report to the service entrance at 6 p.m. sharp. Don't be late. It reflects on the family." After she hung up, Margaret called. "My dear, I've had my assistant reserve a suite at the Ritz. The board of Stellar Properties has been summoned for an emergency meeting October 6th. CEO Crawford has been informed that Blackwood Holdings will be making a major announcement at the gala, though he doesn't know what." "Are you certain about this?" she asked. "Once we go public, there's no going back." I thought about 32 years of being dismissed, overlooked, used. About Marina Heights, my design, Victoria's bonus. About being called the family charity case, while serving wine to celebrate their success built on my stolen inheritance. "Let them have their stage," I said, surprising myself with my steady voice. "It will be their last performance." Margaret chuckled. "Eleanor would be so proud. You have her spine." October 1st through 4th became a masterclass in preparation. Margaret's legal team worked 18-hour days finalizing the transfer documents. Every I dotted, every T crossed. The stakes were too high for even the smallest error. Meanwhile, my sisters escalated their demands via email. Victoria. "Madison, I've assigned you to tables 110, all VIPs. Wear the uniform, link attached, Hair in a bun, minimal makeup. Professional invisibility, you understand. Sophia piled on. Also, we need you to arrive at 5 p.m. instead to help with setup. The donation deadline is Thursday, 50K or whatever you can scrape together. Don't embarrass us. October 3rd, CEO James Crawford received a cryptic message from Blackwood Holdings. Prepare for a significant announcement regarding corporate restructuring. Ms. Margaret Blackwood will attend personally. Ensure appropriate recognition. Crawford, who'd built his career on reading power dynamics, immediately called Victoria. Why didn't you tell me Blackwood herself was coming? Do you have any idea what this means? She's probably just making an appearance, Victoria dismissed. Old money likes their charity galas. We'll give her the prime table, toast her generosity. I'll handle it personally. That same day, I signed the final transfer papers. As of October 5th, 5 p.m., I would legally become chairman of Blackwood Holdings, with full control over the $8.2 billion empire, including stellar properties. Margaret's lawyer, Harrison, handed me a sealed envelope. Your grandmother wanted you to open this at the gala, just before the announcement. What is it? The original contract your biological parents signed with Stellar Properties in 1991, giving Blackwood Holdings majority control. Your mother insisted on one clause, that her heir could revoke any executive position without board approval. Victoria sent one final text. Don't forget, you're serving, not socializing. Know your place. I smiled. Tomorrow, everyone would know exactly where I belonged. October 3rd, Victoria's LinkedIn post went viral in our industry circles. Success runs in the Turner blood, a legacy of excellence. She'd posted a photo spread of the $16 million jewelry collection, each piece dramatically lit like a Sotheby's catalog. When parents leave you more than money, they leave you a legacy of ambition. Proud to carry the Turner tradition forward at Stellar Properties, where my sister Sophia and I continue to break records. The comments poured in, 500, then 1,000, then 5,000. She'd tagged me. At Madison Turner, our minimalist sister, reminds us that not everyone needs material success to be content. By evening, the post had 500,000 views. My phone buzzed with messages from colleagues. I can't believe she posted that. The disrespect. You designed Marina Heights, not her. October 4th, Sophia hosted her pre-gala champagne party at the Atherton Mansion, my parents' former home, now hers. The Instagram stories showed tech executives, venture capitalists, and real estate moguls toasting in the garden where I'd played as a child. She'd converted my old bedroom into a wine cellar. For tomorrow's gala, she announced on her story, the Turner sisters are donating $100,000 to children's literacy. The camera panned to Victoria, dripping in mother's diamonds. Well, two of us are, Victoria laughed. Madison's contributing her architectural expertise. My contractor friend Jake texted, just saw the posts. You okay? Better than okay, I replied. Just finalizing some blueprints. For what? A complete demolition. That afternoon, Crawford sent an urgent email to all executives. Blackwood Holdings has requested a special presentation slot at tomorrow's gala. All senior staff must attend. This is not optional. Victoria forwarded it to me with one line. See? Even billionaires come to see our success. Try not to spill wine on Margaret Blackwood. October 4th, 4 p.m. I sat in the conference room at Hartley & Associates, signing the last documents. The weight of the pen felt heavier than any blueprint I'd ever drawn. As of tomorrow at 5 p.m., Harrison confirmed, you'll have full control. Every subsidiary, every property, every contract under Blackwood Holdings answers to you. The Gene Trust DNA report lay beside the contracts, its scientific certainty a sharp contrast to 32 years of lies. Margaret had insisted on 3 independent labs confirming the results. All 3 came back above 99.9% certainty. The board meeting is set for October 6th, 9 a.m., Harrison continued. But after tomorrow's gala, I doubt your sisters will show up for work. Margaret entered, carrying a Chanel suit in a garment bag. For tomorrow. It was your mother's. She wore it to her first board meeting. I had it tailored to your measurements. How did you know my size? Oh, she smiled. I've been watching over you for years, my dear. Every graduation, every award ceremony, every project launch. I was there, in the back, proud of what you accomplished despite them. The final document was devastating in its simplicity. A power of attorney, giving me immediate termination rights over any Stellar Properties employee. No board approval needed, no severance required for termination with cause, and the contract defined cause broadly enough to include conduct detrimental to company reputation. Your sisters have been very public about their positions, Margaret noted, scrolling through Victoria's LinkedIn. Vice President of Marketing, Head of Partnership Relations. Such impressive titles for such unimpressive people. My phone buzzed. Victoria again. Madison, don't forget, 5 p.m. tomorrow, service entrance. The uniform is size medium. If it's too tight, maybe skip dinner tonight? 12 hours, Margaret said softly, and you never have to accept their cruelty again. October 5th, 5:00 p.m. The Ritz-Carlton's service entrance smelled like industrial detergent and broken dreams. I checked in with catering, accepted my polyester uniform, and tied my hair back exactly as instructed. By 6:00 p.m., the ballroom glittered with San Francisco's elite. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow patterns on the crowd as Victoria commanded the stage in a $40,000 Versace gown, bought, no doubt, with her Marina Heights bonus. Welcome to Stellar Properties' annual charity gala. Her voice rang with false warmth. Tonight, we celebrate success, family, and giving back. I moved through the crowd with my tray, invisible as wallpaper, pouring wine for people I'd designed homes for. They looked through me like I was furniture. At 7:30, Victoria grabbed the microphone again. Before we begin the auction, I want to recognize family. My sister Sophia and I represent the next generation of real estate excellence, and even our baby sister Madison is here tonight. She pointed directly at me as I served table 3. Madison reminds us that not everyone in a family needs to achieve greatness. Someone has to keep us grounded. Right, Madison? Everyone, let's give our family charity case a round of applause for trying. 500 faces turned to stare. Phones appeared, recording. Someone laughed, then another. The applause was mocking, patronizing. I stood frozen, holding a wine bottle, as my sister had just publicly branded me a failure in front of everyone who mattered in our industry. Smile, Madison, Sophia called out. It's probably the most attention you'll ever get. That's when the ballroom doors opened. Margaret Blackwood entered like winter itself. Silver hair perfect, navy Chanel suit immaculate, presence absolutely commanding. The laughter died instantly. Crawford practically sprinted to greet her. Ms. Blackwood, we're honored. Wow, can you imagine being humiliated like that in front of 500 people? What would you do in Madison's position? Walk away or stay for revenge? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're enjoying this story of ultimate karma, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell. Trust me, what happens next at this gala will leave you speechless. Over 2 million viewers couldn't believe the twist. Let's continue. Margaret's arrival shifted the room's gravity. Conversations halted mid-sentence as San Francisco's power brokers recognized the woman who owned half their office leases. She moved through the crowd like Moses parting the Red Sea, accepting air kisses and handshakes while her eyes searched for something, someone. "Why is Blackwood here?" whispered a tech CEO at table 4. "I heard she's announcing something major," his wife replied. The invitation said, "Special presentation." Crawford escorted Margaret to the VIP table directly in front of the stage. Victoria and Sophia, who'd been holding court at table 2, suddenly looked less impressive. Everyone knew the hierarchy. Blackwood Holdings could buy and sell Stellar Properties 10 times over. "Ladies and gentlemen," Crawford announced. "We're deeply honored to have Margaret Blackwood, chairman of Blackwood Holdings, joining us tonight. As you know, Blackwood Holdings is our majority shareholder and—" 67%, Margaret corrected quietly, but her voice carried. "We own 67%. Victoria's smile flickered. She whispered urgently to Sophia, who was frantically Googling on her phone. Neither had bothered to research their own company's ownership structure. I continued serving, now at table 7, when Margaret's eyes found mine. A slight nod, almost imperceptible. But Crawford caught it. "Madison," he called out, confused. "Why are you in uniform? You're Turner's daughter. You should be at the family table." Victoria laughed shrilly. "Oh, James, Madison volunteered to help with service. She's always been more comfortable in supporting roles." "Is that so?" Margaret's voice cut through like a blade. "How interesting. I've found that the most valuable people often work in the shadows. Until they don't." The room buzzed with confusion. Why was Blackwood defending the help? Crawford announced, "Ms. Blackwood will address us after dinner. I'm told it's quite important." Victoria's knuckles were white around her champagne glass. 8:15 p.m. Dinner was served, but Victoria couldn't let the spotlight shift to Margaret. She commandeered the microphone again, her voice pitched too high, too eager. "Before our special guest speaks, I must share some exciting news. Stellar Properties just closed the Bayshore development deal, $100 million in projected revenue." Sophia joined her on stage, equally desperate to reclaim attention. "This success is what the Turner legacy means. Our father taught us to build empires, not just buildings." She looked directly at me. "Madison, bring the champagne. Let's toast." I walked toward the stage, carrying a tray of champagne flutes. The uniform felt like armor now, not humiliation. 3 more minutes until the announcement. "Careful, Madison," Victoria called out as I climbed the stage steps. "These shoes cost more than your monthly rent." I reached the top, offering the tray. Sophia grabbed a glass carelessly, her elbow catching the tray's edge. The champagne tilted, cascading onto her $15,000 Carolina Herrera gown. "Madison!" she shrieked. "You clumsy idiot! You did that on purpose!" "I'm so sorry," I said calmly, grabbing napkins. "Let me—" "Get away from me!" Sophia snatched the napkins. "You'll pay for this dress. It's worth more than your annual salary." The crowd murmured, some recorded. This was the content social media lived for, elite sisters publicly berating the help. Margaret stood slowly. "Perhaps," she said, her voice carrying without a microphone, "we should discuss what things are really worth, and who truly owns what." Crawford sensed the shift. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Margaret Blackwood." As Margaret walked to the stage, she paused beside me. Quietly, only I could hear. "Take off that uniform, dear. It's time." Victoria grabbed my arm. "Don't you dare leave. You have tables to serve." Margaret smiled. "Oh, she's done serving. Forever." Margaret took the stage with the authority of someone who'd built an empire from nothing. The screens behind her flickered to life, displaying the Blackwood Holdings logo. "Good evening. I'm here to announce a significant change in Stellar Properties' leadership structure." Crawford straightened in his chair, confused but attentive. Victoria and Sophia remained on stage, still dabbing at the champagne stain, unwilling to yield the spotlight. "Effective immediately," Margaret continued, "Blackwood Holdings is implementing a complete restructuring of Stellar Properties. All senior positions will be reviewed for performance, ethics, and alignment with our values." The screen changed. "Leadership review, effective immediately." Victoria laughed nervously. "Well, that's wonderful news. Sophia and I welcome any review. Our numbers speak for themselves." "Do they?" Margaret's tone could have frozen fire. "Let's discuss numbers. The Marina Heights project, for instance. Stellar's most profitable development last year. Ms. Turner, you claimed credit for that, didn't you?" I brought it to market," Victoria stammered. "You marketed it. But who designed it? Margaret touched her tablet. The screen displayed architectural plans, contracts, emails, all with my name. Madison Turner, lead architect. Original designs dated 2 years before you claimed credit. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones rose like salutes, recording everything. That's That's a misunderstanding, Sophia interjected. Madison helped with some sketches, but I have here, Margaret held up a folder, sworn affidavits from 12 contractors confirming Madison designed every aspect of Marina Heights. You, Victoria, took a $2 million bonus for her work. Crawford's face darkened. Victoria, is this true? The review starts now, Margaret announced. All positions frozen pending investigation. Victoria's hands shook. You can't do this. We have contracts. Actually, Margaret smiled, you don't. Not anymore. Margaret let the silence stretch until it became unbearable. 500 of San Francisco's most powerful people sat frozen, watching the Turner sisters' world crumble in real time. 30 years ago, Margaret began, her voice carrying lifetimes of pain. My daughter Eleanor died in a plane crash. She left behind a 3-month-old baby girl. That child was my only grandchild, the sole heir to everything I'd built. The screen showed a young woman's photograph, Eleanor Blackwood, looking exactly like me. The resemblance was undeniable. That baby was stolen. Margaret's voice hardened. Sold, actually, for $50 million. Victoria's champagne glass shattered on the stage floor. The buyers were a couple named Robert and Linda Turner. They signed a contract, took the money, and disappeared with my granddaughter. They raised her to believe she was worthless, unwanted, less than. They raised her alongside their biological daughters, who received all the love money could buy, money that was meant to care for my Eleanor's child. Sophia grabbed Victoria's arm, her face ghost white. That's impossible. Madison is our sister, our biological sister. Is she? Margaret touched her tablet again. The screen displayed the adoption contract, the $50 million transfer, the DNA results from Gene Trust Labs. 99.97% match. Madison Turner is legally Madison Blackwood, my granddaughter, and heir to an $8.2 billion empire. The crowd erupted, cameras flashed. Someone shouted, "The serving girl is a billionaire?" Your parents, Margaret looked directly at Victoria and Sophia, took blood money to steal a child's identity. And you too? You spent 30 years tormenting the very person whose inheritance funded your entire privileged existence. Crawford stood abruptly. Ms. Blackwood, are you saying— I'm saying, Margaret interrupted, that the Turner sisters are thieves who built their careers on a stolen fortune, and now it's time for justice. The ballroom felt like a courtroom as Margaret delivered her closing argument. Victoria and Sophia stood frozen on stage, designer gowns now looking like costumes in a play that had suddenly ended. Every piece of jewelry you divided, Margaret continued, every property you claimed, every bonus you collected, all of it traces back to the original $50 million, blood money that was supposed to ensure Madison received equal treatment. Instead, you got private schools, European vacations, and executive positions. She got emotional abuse and stolen credit. You can't prove any of this, Victoria's voice cracked. Our parents are dead. They can't defend themselves. Margaret smiled coldly. Your parents kept meticulous records. Every payment, every move to avoid detection, every cruel instruction to keep Madison feeling worthless. It's all documented. The screen displayed a letter dated 2010 in Linda Turner's handwriting. The Blackwood girl remains unaware. Victoria and Sophia continue to overshadow her as instructed. The latest payment cleared. Will maintain distance as agreed. Sophia collapsed into a chair. No, this isn't real. Madison, tell them this isn't real. Every eye turned to me. I stood by table 7, still in that polyester uniform, still holding the serving tray. The woman they'd called a failure, a charity case, the family disappointment. Madison Blackwood, Margaret called out, her voice warm now, full of love. My granddaughter, Would you please come forward? Victoria lunged toward me. You knew? You knew and let us humiliate ourselves? Security stepped between us. Crawford himself gestured for them to maintain distance. I found out 2 weeks ago, I said quietly, when I opened the trunk you so generously gave me. Margaret extended her hand toward the stage. Come, dear. It's time to claim your birthright. The crowd parted, 500 people creating a path from the service tables to the stage. I set down the serving tray with deliberate precision. Then, in full view of everyone, I untied the polyester apron and let it fall to the floor. Underneath, I wore the Chanel suit my mother had worn to her first board meeting. Navy blue, perfectly tailored, with the Blackwood Holdings pin on the lapel. The walk to the stage felt like crossing decades. With each step, I shed 32 years of being made to feel small. Cameras tracked my movement. The crowd stood as I passed, recognition dawning on faces that had looked through me just minutes ago. Crawford met me at the stage steps. Ms. Blackwood, he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. I'm James Crawford, CEO of Stellar Properties. I apologize for not recognizing you earlier. You weren't supposed to, I replied calmly. I wanted to see how your company treats people they consider beneath them. On stage, Margaret embraced me, whispering, Perfect timing, my dear. She turned to the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Madison Eleanor Blackwood, my granddaughter and as of 5 p.m. today, chairman of Blackwood Holdings and majority owner of Stellar Properties. The screen displayed the legal documents, the transfer papers, the DNA certification. Undeniable. Irreversible. Victoria found her voice. This is fraud. She's been Madison Turner for 30 years. Because your parents committed fraud, I said into the microphone, my voice steady. They took $50 million to hide me from my real family. Every luxury you've ever enjoyed, every opportunity you've ever had, was purchased with money meant to ensure I was treated as an equal. Instead, you called me the family charity case. Well, now we know who the real charity cases were. The applause started slowly, then built to thunder. 500 people giving a standing ovation to the greatest reversal they'd ever witnessed. Victoria tried to rush the microphone, but security blocked her. Madison, please, we're sisters. We grew up together. Did we? I asked. You grew up with private tutors, European vacations, and unconditional love. I grew up being told I should be grateful for scraps. You took credit for Marina Heights, collected $2 million for my design, and tonight you assigned me to serve wine at your triumph. The screen behind me displayed Victoria's LinkedIn post from 2 days ago, her smiling face next to the jewelry collection. Success runs in the Turner blood, I read aloud. Well, it certainly does. Your parents' success at theft ran straight to you. Sophia screamed from her chair. You can't do this! We have contracts! We have rights! Actually, I pulled out the folder Harrison had given me. According to Stellar Properties Charter, the majority shareholder can terminate any executive for conduct detrimental to the company. Taking credit for another's work? Detrimental. Public humiliation of colleagues? Detrimental. Stealing from a child's inheritance? Extremely detrimental. I signed 2 documents on stage, in full view of everyone. Victoria Turner, your position as Vice President of Marketing is terminated, effective immediately. Sophia Turner, your position as Head of Partnership Relations is terminated, effective immediately. Crawford stepped forward. Security, please escort Ms. Victoria Turner and Ms. Sophia Turner from the premises. They are no longer employees of Stellar Properties. You can't, Victoria shrieked as security approached. Everyone knows us. We are Stellar Properties. Were, I corrected. You were Stellar Properties. Now you're trespassers. As security guided them toward the exit, Sophia turned back. What about our things, our offices? We'll be cleared out and donated to charity, I announced. Consider it your first real charitable contribution. The crowd erupted in shocked laughter and more videos. The Turner sisters' public humiliation was complete. As security escorted Victoria and Sophia out, their designer heels clicking desperately against marble. Phones throughout the ballroom pinged with notifications. The videos were already viral. "Oh my God!" someone at table 5 gasped. "It's trending! Hashtag Turner Sisters exposed." Within minutes, the story exploded across social media. Serving girl is secret billionaire. Sisters steal $50 million, lose everything. Greatest revenge in Silicon Valley history. Margaret took the microphone. Stellar Properties will undergo immediate restructuring. We'll review every project, every promotion, every bonus from the last decade. Anyone who advanced through nepotism rather than merit should update their resumes. I added, effective Monday, we're launching a full investigation into the Marina Heights bonus allocation. Any funds obtained through false claims will be recovered and redistributed to the actual designers and architects who were cheated. Crawford, ever the survivor, immediately aligned himself with the new power structure. Ms. Blackwood, we're honored to have you as our chairman. Your architectural expertise will invaluable in taking Stellar Properties to the next level. My first initiative, I announced, is creating a $10 million scholarship fund for foster children and adoptees pursuing careers in architecture and real estate. It will be funded by the recovered Turner bonuses and the sale of certain assets. The screen displayed a final image, the $16 million jewelry collection. These pieces, stolen from my inheritance, will be auctioned. Every penny goes to children who, like me, were denied their birthright. Someone shouted from the back, "What about the Turner's houses?" "All properties purchased with traced funds from the original $50 million are being reviewed," Margaret replied. "My lawyers will be in touch." As the gala concluded, attendees lined up to congratulate me, to network, to apologize for not seeing me before. The invisible serving girl had become the most powerful person in the room. By midnight, the gala videos had 10 million views. By morning, 47 million. Every major news outlet picked up the story. Billionaire heiress serves wine to sisters who stole her fortune. Dominated headlines from the Wall Street Journal to BuzzFeed. Victoria's LinkedIn post became the most commented business post in the platform's history. The original "Success Runs in the Turner Blood" now had 50,000 comments, mostly variations of "It sure does," "Success at theft," and "From jewelry to jobless in one night." Someone had created a TikTok edit, Victoria calling me the family charity case, followed immediately by Crawford announcing me as chairman. It had 20 million views in 6 hours. The audio became a trend, people using it to reveal their own success stories after being underestimated. TMZ obtained security footage of Victoria and Sophia being escorted out. Mascara streaming, designer gowns ruined. The headline, "Riches to Rags in Real Time." More seriously, Bloomberg reported, Stellar Properties stock surged 12% on news of Blackwood Holdings' direct involvement. Investors see Madison Blackwood's architectural expertise and Margaret Blackwood's business acumen as a powerful combination. The San Francisco Chronicle ran a feature, "The Marina Heights Mystery Solved: How Madison Blackwood's Stolen Design Became Victoria Turner's $1 million Lie." My phone had 3,847 messages. Architects I'd admired for years offering congratulations. Clients wanting to work with me directly. 3 publishing houses wanting the exclusive book rights. But the most satisfying notification came from the State Bar of California. Investigation opened into Turner estate handling. Potential fraud charges pending. Margaret called at 7 a.m. "Check your email, dear." I opened it to find ownership documents for every property my sisters had claimed. "Consider it a belated birthday present," her message read, "for all 32 birthdays they ruined." October 6th, 9:02 a.m. The Stellar Properties boardroom had never seen drama like this. Harrison from Hartley and Associates laid out the legal massacre with surgical precision. The Turner sisters have 72 hours to return all assets traceable to the original $50 million, he announced. This includes the $16 million jewelry collection, the Atherton mansion, the La Jolla property, and all investment accounts opened with those funds. The board unanimously approved every motion. Who would dare oppose an $8.2 billion majority shareholder? By noon, both sisters received formal legal notice. Victoria's landlord, a Blackwood Holdings subsidiary, issued an eviction notice. The Atherton Mansion, also owned by a Blackwood shell company, purchased strategically years ago when Margaret suspected the Turners were there. Sophia's investment accounts were frozen pending investigation. The forensic accountants found clear trails from the original $50 million to nearly everything the sisters owned. Their former colleagues distanced themselves immediately. The exclusive country club revoked their memberships. The charity boards they'd sat on quietly requested their resignations. Even the high-end boutiques where they'd shopped for decades flagged their accounts. But the cruelest blow came from their own social circle. Someone leaked a group chat where Victoria had spent years mocking me. Madison's wearing the same dress she wore 3 years ago. Can you believe she thinks she's a real architect? We should start a GoFundMe for her wardrobe. Every cruel message, every petty insult, now public record. Their friends publicly denounced them, claiming they'd always felt uncomfortable with how the sisters treated me. Crawford called an all-staff meeting at 2 p.m. Let me be clear. The culture of nepotism and credit stealing ends today. Anyone who participated in or witnessed the marginalization of talented employees for personal gain should consider this their notice. 23 employees came forward with similar stories of Victoria and Sophia stealing credit or blocking promotions. Can you believe that karma? From mocking Madison as a servant to losing everything in one night? The Turner sisters thought they won with $16 million in jewelry, but Madison inherited an $8.2 billion empire. What do you think? Did they deserve this level of public humiliation? Comment below. Team Madison, or do you think she went too far? If this story of ultimate revenge satisfies your justice nerve, please share it with someone who needs to see that karma is real. Now, let's see how Madison handles the aftermath. October 8th. Victoria posted a tearful apology video that fooled no one. Madison was always family to us, she sobbed into her phone camera, makeup deliberately smudged for sympathy. We may have had our differences, but we loved her. This is all a misunderstanding being blown out of proportion by social media. The video backfired spectacularly. 2 million views, 99% negative reactions. The top comment with 45,000 likes. Now she's family? After calling her a charity case in front of 500 people? Girl, bye. Sophia tried a different approach, emailing me directly. Madison, please. We raised you. We were sisters. Don't you remember Christmas mornings, family vacations, Dad teaching you to ride a bike? I forwarded the email to Harrison with one note. Please add this to the evidence file. Because I did remember. I remembered being excluded from the family photos at Christmas. I remembered staying home while they vacationed in Europe because someone needs to watch the house. I remembered Robert Turner teaching Victoria to ride a bike while I watched from the window. They tried reaching Margaret through various channels, her office, her charity foundation, even showing up at her hotel. Security turned them away each time. Mrs. Blackwood, please! Victoria had screamed in the Four Seasons lobby. We were just children, we didn't know! The hotel's security footage leaked within hours. Another viral moment, the Turner sisters being escorted out of yet another luxury establishment. Their former colleagues at Stellar Properties revealed more dirt. Apparently, Victoria had a spreadsheet ranking employees by usefulness and threat level. I'd been listed under useful but must keep down, too talented. Sophia's assistant leaked emails where she'd actively sabotaged partnerships I'd brought to the company, then claimed credit when they succeeded anyway. Every hour brought new revelations, new evidence of their systematic cruelty. October 7th, my first official board meeting as chairman. I walked into the boardroom where Victoria and Sophia had once held court, their photos still on the achievement wall. Take those down, I instructed. Replace them with photos of the actual designers who created our most successful projects. The meeting was transformative. First order of business, Marina Heights. The $2 million bonus Victoria received will be recovered and distributed among the 7 architects and 12 engineers who actually designed it. Second, we're reviewing all promotions from the last 5 years. Anyone promoted based on relationships rather than merit will be reassessed. Third, the 23 employees who came forward about credit theft will receive formal apologies and compensation. The 3 employees Victoria wrongfully terminated will be offered their positions back with full back pay. Crawford presented the list. That's $3.7 million in restitution. A bargain, I replied, compared to the lawsuits we would have faced. But my most satisfying decision was personal. The Foster Youth Architecture Scholarship will be funded annually with $10 million. Recipients will intern here mentored by our best architects, not our best networkers. The press release went out at noon. Stellar Properties announces ethics overhaul under new chairman Madison Blackwood. By afternoon, 3 major clients who'd left Stellar Properties returned, citing renewed confidence in leadership. The stock price climbed another 8%. I kept one promise to myself. Marina Heights would be resubmitted for awards under my name. The architectural community had already begun reaching out, offering support and validation. Your mother would be proud, Margaret said, visiting my new office, the corner suite that had been Victoria's. Not because you won, but because you're using your power to lift others. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see the city I'd helped build, one design at a time, finally credited to the right architect. October 10th, 2:00 p.m. Against my lawyer's advice, I agreed to meet Victoria and Sophia one final time. Blackwood Holdings conference room, bulletproof glass, 3 lawyers present, everything recorded. They looked different. Designer clothes replaced with department store basics, professional makeup abandoned for tear-stained faces. The transformation from socialites to pariahs had taken only 5 days. 15 minutes, I stated. Starting now. Victoria spoke first, her voice broken. Madison, we're sorry. We're so sorry. We didn't know about the adoption, the money. But you knew you were cruel, I interrupted. You knew Marina Heights was my design. You knew every insult, every exclusion, every stolen opportunity. You didn't need to know about Blackwood to treat me like family. Sophia tried manipulation. Dad loved you most. That's why he gave you the trunk. He wanted you to have the truth. No, I said flatly. He gave me the trunk because it was worthless to him. The truth was an accident. If you'd known what it contained, you would have burned it. Please, Victoria begged. We have nothing. The accounts are frozen. We're being evicted. No one will hire us. I'm not pressing criminal charges, I said. That's more mercy than you ever showed me. Harrison slid documents across the table. Sign these. You return everything traceable to the original $50 million. You keep anything earned through legitimate work, approximately $200,000 each. You cease all contact with Miss Blackwood and Mrs. Margaret Blackwood. Violation results in immediate criminal prosecution. That's it? Sophia gasped. $200,000 from a fortune built on $50 million? It's $200,000 more than you deserve, I replied. You have 5 minutes to decide. They signed after 3 minutes of sobbing. We're still family, Victoria whispered desperately. No, I stood to leave. We never were. Harrison detailed the settlement with ruthless precision. Page 3, Section 4. You acknowledge that all assets derived from the original $50 million belong to Blackwood Holdings. This includes the jewelry, properties, and investment accounts already identified. Page 7. You forfeit any claim to the Turner estate beyond personal mementos of no monetary value, photos, letters, personal effects, those you may keep. Victoria's hand shook as she initialed each page. What about our reputations, our careers? Those you destroyed yourselves, I said. The settlement doesn't include reputation management. Page 12, Harrison continued. The restraining order. No contact with Miss Madison Blackwood or Mrs. Margaret Blackwood. No attempts through third parties. No social media mentions. Violation results in immediate prosecution for fraud, with evidence already filed with the district attorney. Sophia looked up with red eyes. Can we at least explain our side publicly? Page 15 addresses that. You may state you were unaware of the adoption fraud. You may not discuss Ms. Blackwood, Blackwood Holdings, or Stellar Properties. You may not profit from this story through books, interviews, or media deals. You're taking everything, Victoria whispered. I'm taking back what was mine, I corrected. You're keeping what was yours, the $200,000 you actually earned through real work, not stolen credit or nepotism. Margaret, who'd been silent, finally spoke. My investigators found 17 instances where you two actively sabotaged Madison's career. 17. We could pursue damages for lost income, defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress. This settlement is a gift. Sign, or we proceed with criminal charges, Harrison said. The evidence is overwhelming. The DA is particularly interested in the Marina Heights fraud. They signed every page, every initial, every acknowledgement of what they'd done. Executed October 10, 2024, 4:47 p.m., Harrison noted for the record. The settlement is complete. As Harrison gathered the signed documents, Victoria made one last desperate play. You're destroying our parents' memory, Madison. They're rolling in their graves watching you tear apart their legacy. Their legacy? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Their legacy was built on kidnapping and fraud. Sophia joined in. They loved you. They gave you everything. Stop. I pulled out a folder I'd kept for this moment. I found more letters in the trunk. Letters between your parents from 2010. I read aloud. Linda, the Blackwood girl is getting too talented. Her professor wants to recommend her for the Rhodes Scholarship. We need to intervene. Remember, mediocrity was part of the agreement. Victoria went white. That's not real. Robert's response, I continued. Agreed. I'll call in a favor to have the recommendation pulled. We can't have her gaining that kind of visibility. The Blackwoods might notice. Tell Victoria to apply instead. The room went silent. Even the lawyers looked stunned. You got my Rhodes Scholarship? I asked Victoria. The one I never understood why I didn't receive? She couldn't meet my eyes. There's more, I said. Emails from 2015 discussing whether to sabotage my firm's bid for the Marina Heights project. They decided to let me design it, but ensure you got credit. Quote, let her do the work. Victoria needs the career boost more than Madison needs recognition. We didn't know, Sophia whispered. But you participated, I shot back. You took the credit, the bonuses, the promotions. You stood on my shoulders while pushing me down. Margaret spoke softly. Your parents knew exactly who Madison was. They chose money over truth. You chose cruelty over kindness. 3 generations of choices, all wrong. The settlement stands, Harrison announced. Leave now, or we add these letters to the criminal file. Victoria and Sophia sat in defeated silence as Harrison placed the final settlement documents before them. The conference room's overhead lights caught the tears streaming down their faces, but I felt no sympathy. 32 years of tears I'd hidden from them had dried up my compassion. Initial here, Harrison pointed. This confirms the return of the jewelry collection. Victoria's hand trembled as she signed away the $16 million in gems she'd flaunted just a week ago. And here, this transfers the Atherton mansion back to Blackwood Holdings. Sophia sobbed as she signed away the house where she'd hosted her champagne party, where my childhood bedroom had become her wine cellar. Last page. This acknowledges the permanent restraining order and ends any familial claims between you and Ms. Blackwood. They signed. It was done. You each retain $200,000 in verified personal earnings and your personal effects, Harrison summarized. The restraining order is effective immediately. Any violation will result in criminal prosecution with prejudice. Security entered the room, not aggressively, just professionally present. Victoria stood on unsteady legs. Madison, Ms. Turner, Harrison interrupted. The restraining order is now in effect. Please leave. As security escorted them to the door, Sophia turned back one last time. We were sisters for 32 years. No, I said with absolute finality. You were my captor's daughters. We were never family. Family doesn't steal your birthright. Family doesn't sabotage your dreams. Family doesn't need a restraining order. The door closed behind them at 4:47 p.m. I watched through the window as they were escorted to a basic sedan. Their luxury cars had been repossessed that morning. Margaret squeezed my shoulder. It's over, my dear. No, I said, watching the sedan disappear into San Francisco traffic. It's just beginning. January 15th, 2025. 3 months had transformed everything. I stood in my new office, the entire top floor of Blackwood Tower, reviewing Stellar Properties' quarterly reports. Revenue was up 34%, our best quarter in a decade. The turnaround was systematic. We'd restored credit to 47 architects and designers whose work had been claimed by others. The Foster Youth Scholarship had received 3,000 applications for its first 20 spots. Marina Heights, finally under my name, had won the International Architecture Award I'd dreamed of for years. But the sweetest victory was personal. Every Thursday, Margaret and I had dinner at her penthouse. Last week, she'd pulled out photo albums I'd never seen. My mother Eleanor at my age standing before buildings she'd designed. You have her talent, Margaret said, but you have something she didn't. Resilience. You survived what would have broken most people. The business victories came daily. 5 major developments wanted me to lead their design teams. Forbes had featured me in their 30 Under 40 issue with the headline, From Serving Wine to Serving Justice, Madison Blackwood's $8.2 billion comeback. Crawford had become my most loyal supporter, perhaps out of survival instinct, but effectively nonetheless. Your vision for ethical development is revolutionary, he'd said in our Bloomberg interview. Profitable and principled aren't mutually exclusive. We'd hired back every employee Victoria and Sophia had wrongfully terminated, with full back pay and promotions. The company culture had transformed from fear-based to merit-based. My assistant knocked. Ms. Blackwood, the Architecture Digest team is here for your cover shoot. I smiled. The same magazine that had featured Victoria's home tour last year, in my childhood home, now wanted to feature the real architect in the family. Send them in, I said, straightening the photo on my desk. Eleanor Blackwood and baby Madison, finally reunited through time. The industry newsletters told the Turner sisters' story in brutal brevity. Victoria Turner, former VP of Marketing at Stellar Properties, now worked as a junior marketing coordinator at a small real estate firm in Sacramento. Her LinkedIn, once boasting 50,000 followers, had been deleted after the 100,000th comment calling her a thief. Sophia had moved to Portland, working retail at a department store. Someone had photographed her folding clothes in the designer section she once shopped in, the irony too perfect for social media to resist. The photo went viral with the caption, "From stealing millions to steaming merchandise." They'd applied to dozens of companies in their field. Every single one had quietly rejected them. Who would hire executives famous for stealing credit and defrauding a billionaire heiress? Their social circle had evaporated completely. The country club published their membership termination in the monthly newsletter. The charity boards issued press releases distancing themselves. Even their college alumni associations removed them from donor lists and event invitations. But karma's finest moment came when they'd both applied to different Blackwood Holdings subsidiaries, apparently not realizing our company owned them. The applications were auto-rejected by HR's screening system, flagged for the restraining order. Meanwhile, my Marina Heights project had become a Harvard Business School case study, Ethical Architecture, How Madison Blackwood Transformed Stellar Properties. The design had won 4 international awards, each one properly crediting me as lead architect. The $16 million jewelry collection had been auctioned by Christie's, raising $18.7 million for the Foster Youth Scholarship. The catalog's introduction told the full story, ensuring the Turner name would forever be associated with fraud. Last week, a documentary producer had called. Netflix wanted to tell the story. I declined. My story wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about rebuilding. I stood in the Blackwood Holdings lobby, studying the trunk now displayed in a climate-controlled case. A small placard read, "The Truth Sets Free, on loan from Madison Blackwood." Visitors often stopped, curious about this plain oak box among marble and crystal. They didn't know it had held 32 years of lies, $50 million worth of deception, and ultimately, my freedom. "Any regrets?" Margaret asked, joining me for our weekly lunch. "None," I said honestly. "I spent 3 decades believing I wasn't enough. Now I know the truth. I was always enough. They were the ones who were lacking." The journey from that humiliating night at the gala to this moment had taught me something valuable. Revenge isn't the goal, reclamation is. I hadn't destroyed Victoria and Sophia to hurt them. I'd simply reclaimed what was mine and let the truth do the rest. My phone buzzed with meeting reminders. A design review for the new affordable housing complex. The scholarship committee selections. Dinner with Margaret. A life built on merit, not manipulation. "Your mother would be so proud," Margaret said, linking her arm through mine. "Not because you inherited billions, but because you chose to build something better with it." We walked past the wall of architects' photos, all the hidden talents now properly credited. My photo was there too, but no larger than the others. That's what real power looked like, lifting others up, not pushing them down. The truth wasn't in the jewelry, I reflected, thinking of my sister's desperate grab for those glittering prizes. It wasn't even in the money. "What was it in?" Margaret asked. "In choosing myself. In believing I deserved better. In finally setting boundaries that should have existed from the beginning." Sometimes the best inheritance isn't money. It's freedom from those who never deserved you in the first place. What an incredible journey from being treated like a servant to becoming an $8.2 billion heiress. Madison's story shows us that sometimes the people who underestimate us most are preparing us for our greatest comeback. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for more stories of justice served. Comment below. What would you have done with the Turner sisters? Would you have been as merciful as Madison? Share this with someone who needs a reminder that their worth isn't determined by others. Until next time, remember, your true value can never be hidden forever.